First of all, first things first, it is an honor for me to be here talking to, my alma mater. And thank you to the faculty members and the alumni team for having me here. Um, before I begin, I want to set the tone by mentioning how I got into recruitment and, being someone from IIM Indore as well. What was playing in my mind when I thought about HR and specifically in HR, why recruitment, right? Um, a brief history. I was a recruiter in a startup after my engineering college from DC. Yeah, that's quite odd, but yes, after my engineering, I stepped directly into recruitment. I started off with a startup, right? Um, in a similar capacity, I moved on to Aon Hewitt, which is an MNC, but I still had the similar capacity of recruitment that I did in my startup. After a few months of experience, 1.5 years of experience, I came to IIM Indore, got placed in Coffee Day as a head of talent acquisition. I did, after my stint in Coffee Day and handling various talent acquisition roles amongst various companies, I wanted to mention that I enjoy connecting the dots between candidate aspirations and the business expectations, right? Um, Candidates have various expectations, so does a business, right? And when you come to think of it, right, when you apply for a job or anyone, not only campus people, but lateral people, right? When anyone applies for any job, what are the two broad questions that come in mind? One is, why do I want the job, right? And the other is, why will the organization hire me? Or why should they hire me, right? These are the two major thought processes that come in mind while someone applies for a role, right? So hence these two questions bring me to the topic of this session, which is to decode what organizations seek from candidates. And I chose this topic because in my recruitment experience, I have seen that there are so many candidates, right, who have the potential, who have the basic hygiene technical knowledge. They have all the elements that is required to do the role well. But during the interview process or during the time when it matters the most, right, to showcase that you are going to be an asset to the organization, sometimes because of lack of preparation or awareness, we fumble and you lose that opportunity, right? And as a recruiter, I have seen that where I feel this candidate would have done his job really well because I know my employees, I know how my employees work on the ground, right? And I can see that with my candidates as well. But when the candidates go for the business rounds, the technical rounds, or let's say the non-technical rounds, but the business rounds, somehow something happens where the decision makers are not convinced as much as I'm convinced, and they lose that opportunity, right? So I want to take this opportunity to at least align that there's no wrong and right in terms of what you want in terms of a job. Everything is an experience, right? You will learn as you go up the ladder, change companies, that this is something that I wanted to do, but after experience the job world, now I look forward to something else because of different aspirations. But it should be done in the right way, right? It should be done in a way that you spend your time working where it seems like it's a good ROI, right? In terms of experience. I always tell this to the candidates, you're anyways gonna have to work hard, right? If you're at a managerial role, anyways you have to work hard. So if I work hard in a place where I like, I rather do that rather than go in a turmoil where I'll work hard, but it's not something that I don't like, right? That's more of a turmoil. Okay. Now having said that, right, I have a small PPT, all right? It's nothing fancy, maybe just fancy contents, but I'll take you through a PPT, through some visualizations in terms of to understand the psyche of the recruitment team in organizations, right? How does the company and the recruitment team in the company, go through making hiring decisions? What is the business agenda behind it? What is the recruitment agenda behind it? And what can candidates, you know, take away from these thought processes that goes inside a company, and how they can tailor make their preparations based on these psyche of an organization. And throughout the process, you will see that I will be referring the organizations nothing less than an entity, like a person who has their own culture, own expectations, and has his own thought process. Okay. All right. So like any derivation, there is a left hand side and there is a right hand side. All right. And I'll be going back to a little bit of CBSE mathematics, where you have to prove both sides, right? Uh, so there are two variables when it comes to hiring. One is the organization itself who's hiring. One is the candidates, right? And let one be X and one let be Y. And but the X variable and the Y variable both have sub variables in them, and they can be of multiple entity, and they can be of multiple values. Why X has a can X as an organization has multiple departments, multiple things that they expect. So does Y as a candidate, a lot of personal side to it, a lot of professional side to it. So there are a lot of factors that X and Y both have, which have to synchronize in order to be placed finally in a organization of your liking. And with that, I'm calling a synergy of X and Y. Okay. Now, as a starting point, why do companies hire? Let's try to first understand, the organization first. Now, in a nutshell, why does the company exist in the first place? How does the organization earn money, right? What is the business model, which we call in MBA terms? Where and how does money come from? That is something that you need to know when you're applying for a company, right? It's just not the brand. It's just not one or two things. It's overall, how is the company sustaining itself, right? As a candidate, what can you take away from the business model of the company is what will I, as an employee of that organization, be contributing to? As an HR, let's say as a recruiter, I will be hiring people who will be doing so and so work at the so and so levels and hiring the right people at the right place. And that is how I will contribute to the organization, at the end. So this is just like small example from my portfolio. Likewise, whatever role that you're applying for, first you need to understand how does the company first sustain itself, right? Every company exists for growth itself, obviously, and the aspiration is always to grow. And I won't go too much into the details, but largely, a company can grow or stay profitable if it either expands in whatever they're doing, or diversify their revenue streams, or have multiple ways of earning, right? Or a combination of both, right? Now, if I draw a parallel of this from a company to a candidate, as the company grows, obviously, naturally, you should also grow. There are reasons why appraisals happen. There are reasons why promotions happen. And if the company grows, how does the candidate grow with themselves? What is the trajectory, right? Let's visualize further. If I have a company at a starting point T is equal to 0, where I have X number of, Y number of employees, tomorrow it will grow, it'll get bigger. Obviously, I need more people to sustain it. I need more people to hold the ship and to keep the company more stable, right? So as the company grows, inevitably, recruitment comes into the picture, right? If a company is expanding, diversifying, geographic wise, product wise, service wise, recruitment will definitely come into the picture, because you need people to sustain the whole, growth model of the company. But the real question, which starts with a company, is why should I hire the X number of people that I'm looking for? If I do hire, at what level should I hire them, and why? Right. So these are some of the questions that are not just HR related. In fact, it's not HR related at all. First, it's business related. First, the business decision makers who are expanding the business or who are growing the business, they're the ones who want people in their team, and they're the one who translate their expectation from a business perspective, and then we translate into recruitment strategies, right? So these are some questions that need to be asked in the company before a recruitment strategy can be made, right? Okay, now this is just, in layman terms, an organization structure will have multiple departments in them, right? And these are just to name a few, like sales, marketing, finance, legal, HR, etc. But within each department, I'm sure by now you would have realized, every department has a lot of sub levels, and the more deep you go, the more roles and responsibilities you will see in an organization. The bigger they are, the more complicated they can become, right? Now, within each department, there are various sub departments who have very specific roles to finally have that pyramid structure where the company is still able to function efficiently and smoothly, right? Now, all of this comes with a budget. It cannot be infinite. I cannot hire n number of people to do my work. There is a certain budget that I have, because I'm earning every financial year certain amount, which will translate into a budget, right? And every department has a budget because we are all costs. We are all manpower, and every manpower is a cost. Only sales and BD, business development as we call them, they only have the bragging rights of being the revenue generating stream, the revenue generating department. Everyone else is somewhere or the other helping the BD, the sales, or the organization itself to earn. All right. And we call them in layman terms support functions. Right. All right. So now, once a budget is decided, all right, the business and the HR team come together to strategize that how many people do you want, and if you want this many number of people, at which departments, at which levels should we align them with. This is where the HR, acumen comes into place, because if you give the whole responsibility to business, they will say, I need n number of people. I can hire 20 people from IIM Indore, 30 people from IIM Indore. If you give them that liberty, they will take n number of people, but that's not feasible, right? There is a certain constraint that you have to work around with. So this is where business and HR comes into the play, and together we boil down to a number. So based on the X number of budget, I realized that based on my past history, I need these many people in the system. This is the cost related to each level, each ground level analyst, maybe I'll give this much amount, middle management this much amount, leadership this much amount. Finally, overall, what will be my budget that I'm willing to spend on manpower to keep my company floating or profitable at least till the next financial year, or maybe for the next 5 years, right? Accordingly, that's when the recruitment part comes in full swing, because we now have a final number, a tentative target, right? And the recruitment team here will decide the channel of hiring. So if I want to hire 10 people finally for my business, I can hire 10 people through any number of channels. And this is where I think it becomes more relevant for you guys. What are the kind of channels that we have? Um, One is lateral hiring. Lateral is nothing but experienced candidates, right? Then there is campus hiring, freshers. Then there are these branding initiatives. Um, there are reasons, pros and cons for hiring candidates across each channels, right? Lateral hire brings experience. They already understand how company works, how it's structured, what are the decision makers, what is information flow between various departments. Campus hires, the better the campus, the better probability of them having strong acumen, strategic acumen, mature acumen, right? And is it worth investing in them for a long term, even if they don't have experience? But in the long term, they will give us very good business results because they have that intelligence. Branding initiatives, depending upon what's the culture of the company and how they want to position themselves in the market amongst their competitors, what is the value of a company, they will have different initiatives which can result in various activities like hackathon or job fairs, targeted job fairs, etc. Right? So these are various channels with my set target. I still have the same target, but now I have to divide it amongst all my channels, and I cannot exceed it. All right. In very rare cases, any organization gets the approvals to exceed their targets beyond 10%, right? Because everything has a cost. Everything is cost related. Now, keeping this in mind, once channels are decided for the company's target segment, which is the candidates, how do I attract them? Which ones do I attract? Oh, and based on my thought process of a company doing well, how do I hire these people? Now, the basic, the basic information that needs to be out there is the job description, right? That's the only piece of paper or information that a company can give to its target segment in a large scale, is what we want from the candidate, right? And in recruitment terms, we are told to take a step back if required, but do not negotiate on the quality of the job description. It has to be very crystal clear, because if my job description is very generic in nature, but I know what kind of candidates I want, I know what my business wants, I will have a lot of irrelevant candidates applying for the roles because maybe someone has not explained it to them properly, maybe someone has not understood it properly, and I'll be wasting everyone's time. I'll be wasting the candidate's time, the business's time, and wasting time in recruitment is actually a loss of money as well, because that is how much time I'm taking to hire someone, while if I had hired early, they could have already started working on the business and getting revenues, right? Now, as a candidate, once you have a job description, what are those things that we should look for, ask if it's not there, right? But these are some certain checklists that I feel, based on the experience, that we should be able to pinpoint when someone is reading the JD. And if you feel like you've got a JD which is not clear enough or doesn't have all the checklist in them, please, through your networking, seniors, LinkedIn, your research, please understand how to get answers to these checklists, right? And that is how, and then later I'll come to the conclusion of why it's important. First things first, I think very important is when you do your job, right? Largely, there can be two factors: who are your internal stakeholders and who are your external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders, your manager, the departments who you will work with, the seniority of leaders that you will work with, who will give you approvals to do what you are thinking, the creativity that you want to apply, the sampling, anything that you want to do, who's going to finally approve them? It's someone upper hierarchy in the organization who will make those decisions, right? They're your internal stakeholders. They can be within your department, they can be cross department, right? Who you will be interacting with, not only as your stakeholders, but maybe within, right? What are their KRAs? What are their responsibilities, right? Whoever you're going to interact with, your internal stakeholders, your external stakeholder, what are their JDs? I think it's important not to understand only your own JD, that what you will be doing, but the job description of your, at least the immediate stakeholders that you'll be working with. What is the nature of the work of those people who you're going to interact with on a day-to-day basis, right? And what is the kind of personalities required, or maybe the day-to-day life of those people who you're going to work with, right? Because in the end, all of you collectively are going to help the same organization grow, right? And those stakeholders are also sometimes part of the hiring process, right? Even if your manager who's hiring you feels like, okay, this person is good enough, but also realizes that this person will be working with these stakeholders of mine who are very important for my day-to-day decision making, you might have to go through a second round with them. You might have to go through a parallel round with them, that, hey, I feel this candidate is good, but why don't you also have one round with him and check that if he will be an asset to the team. And those are proper deal breakers or winners, if you understand the psyche of those people who you'll be working with in the organization, or even your external stakeholders. This brings me to the preparation part, right, for the hiring process. Now, provided you have understood the JD, you have understood the business model, you have all the technical skill set ready, obviously you cannot go to a supply chain company without knowing what is just in time, what is the shortest route path, or stochastic modeling, or those basic technical jargons of your own field, right? Provided all of that is set, right? Once you reach the interview round, and this is where I feel like a lot of people fumble and they become a little nervous. But I think if you ask yourself these three questions, right, and you have a fair amount of self-talk around these three questions, I think you will go to any interview with a little bit more confidence, right? And they are, if now you have to do a little bit of role play, you have to imagine that you are the hiring manager looking at yourself as the candidate. Now, if you were the hiring manager and you look at yourself as a candidate, right? Can you with confidence say that, do I see this candidate, myself, handling my stakeholders, right? I know the behavior or the expectation of my stakeholders, right? So, if he joins the team, do I see this person working well with this person or not? Do I see this person being able to work with this, work efficiently for the larger goal of the company. Does this person who will join my team, which I know how it works, I know the dynamics, can this person gel with this team or not? Will this person survive if he joins my team? Or will he flourish? Um, Etc. Right? Okay. Apart from the basic other hygiene, is this the energy level, the communication, the confidence that this person will agree with, talk to me on a day-to-day basis like this? Can I look at him as a future colleague or a future team member? Okay. If you feel like some of these questions are not 10 on 10 or maybe very low on your score, I think that's where you should start your preparation with. Okay. All right. I'll take a quick pause and then I have a worksheet for all of us, right? And this is just like the final notes. And maybe, we'll do this together. Maybe I can share the answers later. But, for example, if I am applying for a company in FMCG sales, right? And I've used things which are very relatable, right? If I'm applying for a company which is FMCG sales or FMCD, can I answer these questions, right? And let's take an example. For if I'm applying for FMCG sales, what is the business model? How does the revenue come, right? If I had to give some quick answers, it is a product, it is a service, it can be B2B, it can be B2C, right? Now you know what terms and terminologies you need to be more accustomed with and what you should know before you apply for the company. According to the job description and further research, who are the internal stakeholders and external stakeholders of this FMCG company, right? If you understand the business model of FMCG companies, you will understand that there are inventory management people, there are marketing people, there are the legal team or the contractual team, right? There are distributors, wholesalers. Do I know what these distributors want from us? Do I know what the marketing team wants from sales? Do I know what the finance team wants from sales? And do I know how they're interconnected to each other, right? That is my next step. And depending upon which stage of career you are at, what is the channel of hiring that you're going through? This will decide the process that you'll have to go through. For example, if you're going through campus, like any other campus hiring stage, you will have to go through maybe a group discussion, maybe multiple one-on-one rounds, maybe a case study round, right? If you're going through laterals, in all probability, you'll be first asked about your past experience. Do you know what you did in your past experience? If I ask you, okay, how did you impact the business through whatever work you did? Can you articulate that? Can you tell me that? Right? In through the branding initiatives, obviously, it is very subjective, but it can be a subset of the lateral part as well, right? Once I have these, right, I'll be able to go to the interview round in plus, with at least +1 confidence that, okay, I understand your business. I understand why I am here, why I have applied for this role. I know exactly what I have to go through on a day-to-day basis. And I am prepared based on the interview rounds that I have to go through, be it campus or right? This was just one example. I'll just take one more, let's say a for this role called campus recruiter, not just any recruiter. They should know that why am I hiring XYZ people? Why am I hiring people from, let's say, the IIMs or the engineering campuses or whatever is the industry of the company that I am with? Who are my stakeholders? As a campus recruiter, if you had to guess, my stakeholders are the place com team, the directors of the organizations, internal, sorry, the colleges. Who are the internal stakeholders? My recruitment team, my business stakeholders. The channel I can go through, campus hiring. I can even do post-campus alumni hiring. I can do hackathons of only campus people. They all fall under campus, right? So these are my channels. Now, if I understand the dynamics of all this, I'm sure that when you go for your interview, you'll have, you'll be able to give your hiring manager this confidence that, okay, this person has, enough sufficient knowledge to groom him, and I won't have to invest so much, at least, tech, even if I have to invest technically, maybe not personally to get this person kick-started when he joins my company because he's already about so many dynamics, right? And I think this was in a nutshell about what I wanted to share. And you want to give yourself the best shot, right? And I think it's worth giving yourself the best shot if these aspects are taken care of. I'm not sure what's the time, but I think this is where I'll pause and um, maybe leave it on the floor for some questions. Yeah, I think I
So,
see multiple hands up. I'll start with the first one that I see. Yep, Tanya.
good evening, sir. Thank you for this talk today. So, I saw that you did your engineering from DCE,
Right.
then you went on to do your PGP from Indore here. I was
Mhm.
curious to know that what made you feel that HR was the field that you wanted to go in, despite not being an MBA in HR.
Yeah, I think fair question. So when I was doing engineering, obviously, I had my heart set on engineering at that time. But as I progressed to probably third year or fourth year, I realized, when I saw my seniors get placed and the kind of roles that they were doing and what is the lifestyle in terms of the technicalities, what they were going through, I didn't quite see myself enjoying or see it as a long-term thing that I wanted to do. I didn't find it as inspirational or aspirational, I would say. Maybe because I was not too techie, but I got into that college because maybe I was good with my foundations at that time. Then luckily I had seniors who were cracking these colleges, right? At that time when I was in third year, I could see my seniors who already cracked the XLRIs of the world or IIMs of the world. And I had further interaction with them and I realized, okay, maybe I don't want to get into too much technical. There are roles out there which are equally respectable and at the same time quite stable. And I realized that maybe I want to get into more an interactive kind of a role. And that's when I thought I'll experiment with sales and marketing or HR. And it's just by luck that the first company that I had to come, in my way was the recruitment company. It was a startup. They would hire for their clients in the IT industry. So I think from there was no going back. Thanks, Dani, for your question. I think I saw one more hand. Yeah, Shayan.
Hi, Karan. Am I
Shayan.
audible?
Yes, you're on.
Yeah. Thanks for the talk, Karan. This was quite insightful. And I also like you also mentioned that you had been in American Express. So I've been part of the organization for the past 2 years in their strategy team. So I just wanted an insight from you as someone who's in HR. When you see a role and you feel that you are a good fit for that, do you recommend reaching out to the person who has posted the job, or let's say the hiring manager? As you mentioned, I mean, if you get to know it through LinkedIn or our alumni, do you recommend reaching out to the hiring manager or the HR to have a one-on-one connect or something like that? Is it seen something as too pushy or too desperate, or just wanted to know your thoughts regarding it?
Sure, I think it's a very fair question. So definitely reaching out to the person who's posted it, right? That is completely fine because they're the ones who are advertising it. They're the ones who are trying to attract the right candidates. So it's completely fine to reach out. In fact, if you do see a name, in fact, half the time you won't see the recruiter's name out there because they get bombarded with too many queries. They'll keep it, very neutral. But reaching out to the direct hiring managers, I think that seems a little pushy because they don't want to come under any pressure that okay, tomorrow if I interview you and just because we had the talk, I'm obliged of any kind. But you can reach out to similar level of hiring managers who are not going to directly be involved in your recruitment process, just to understand the job description better, just to understand the nitty gritties of the role on a day-to-day life, the trajectory of the growth. That, yes, is completely fine as a part of your research. So in short, not the direct hiring manager, but anyone else, please do. Does that answer your question, Shreya?
Yeah, Karan, thanks a lot. That's quite helpful. And if I may, just another quick question. So since you are looking after, like you have that insight into hiring in the consult, like in strategy and consulting, From what I've seen in the financial service industry, since I've been a part of that, uh, the kind of scope that generative AI brings in, a lot of the entry level jobs are definitely going to be eliminated, uh, partially, if not completely. And that puts a lot of the IM graduates at risk, at least for the entry level jobs. I mean, the way I have seen some of the use cases. Uh, how are the things there at the consulting, the strategy consulting side?
Okay, fair. So, Shane, I think I'll just take a step back to make you understand what this, generative AI is all about, right? And um, as per the hiring that we have done in generative AI, what I can tell you is yes, generative AI is it's like the latest thing in the market, which makes life lot easier, especially for transactional, right? Which just required a manpower. But if you've worked on these softwares like ChatGPT, just the basics, you will realize yes, it has to give those prompts. It has to be there have to be skilled people who know how ChatGPT can work or generative AI can work and give those prompts or those very specific prompts, right? Otherwise, the software is there for everyone to do. But how is someone going to use that software better than the others? So where human is going to be there. Yes, a lot of analysis part, the content making part. Yes, a lot of that can become a little redundant, but this intention by a person, which is the most strategic part is, while at the same time removing all these tasks which take up unnecessary energy, right? So I think it's bittersweet to become redundant because of AI. I think it's an opportunity to look further and be more aspirational about the kind of roles that we should look for.
Uh, Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the perspective.
Shasta, you're on
Yes.
mute. Yeah.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Please tell me.
Yes. Thank you for this session and enriching us with your knowledge and your points. I wanted to ask you the question, you're dealing with the employees and the people working in the organization. How do you cope up to manage their organizational behavior? How do you cope up to motivate them timely and to regulate their behavior and maintain a lucid organizational environment? Is there any insights would be helpful?
Okay,
Like
maybe a little
if they're
broad
not,
topic.
right,
Sure. If I had to,
right, just few points would be
okay, no,
helpful.
just to summarize your question. Yeah, just to summarize your question, maybe various ways that organizations look to keep their employees motivated, right? And what are those things that we do to keep employees motivated at different levels or scenarios? It's a very subjective question, but the major bullet points about an employee's motivation is probably the salary, the kind of financial earnings that they're doing, the rewards and recognition that they get for working hard. That if everyone is doing X amount of work, but if I do X plus one, what is that additional ROI? Is it in terms of recognition? Is it in terms of monetary? Is it in terms of other rewards, any other perks? This is one side. Other side of motivation is that once the money side is stable and they're very comfortable, probably they're looking for somewhere where they are very where they are challenged every day in terms of their creativity. They don't want to become redundant. They don't want their skills to become redundant. So an organization which is always trying to upskill these people so that they get promoted, and giving them the necessary projects, giving them the necessary training, uh, exposure, that is which will help them move up the ladder, which will help them prove their capabilities so that they can take up bigger responsibilities. Bigger responsibilities means promotions mean in the end higher salaries, higher variables. That can also be one part of motivation. there are a lot of personalities which just like to be engaged, maybe not work wise, but maybe an organization wise, where the organization is taking care of them, in terms of their extracurricular activities, maybe in terms of the competitions that are, that are held internally, which will help them get recognized with other departments, which they look forward to working with. So there are various activities that an HRBP or HRs or the business can do internally as well to keep their employees motivated in terms of, a lot of extracurricular activities. For example, recently we had a badminton tournament, and a lot of employees who were very reluctant to come back to their base location, um, they suddenly decided to come back to their base location because they could see a lot of hustle and bustle happening at the office life, and they all wanted to be a part of it. So we saw an increase of a lot of people coming back to their base location as well. So yeah, a lot of internal initiatives can also help with that. So monetary, growth path, and extracurricular, I think these are largely major chunks to help keep employees motivated. Thanks, Shrestha. Okay, I see Gautam.
Hi, Karan. Thanks for the talk.
Thanks,
So,
Gautam.
talk about the formal process, right, where you send out a JD and then people apply and all of this there. So, from your perspective as a recruitment team, are there situations where, since you spoke about, there's also questions of fitment, how they fit in with the culture and all of that, where you're looking for you people that you know informally, they've networked with you, they're trying to get in the organization, and then you're considering taking them, but then there is no process of this JD and all of that. Like more of the informal channel of hiring, does that exist at these larger organizations, and how do you approach these?
Sure. So there is a term called referral, right? So employee referral is also one of the major ways where organizations hire. And why do we do referral? Because if I, as an employee of the organization, know what is the kind of employee that is good for the company, right? My referral might help convey my decision maker that, listen, I, being a person who really knows the company and the business model, am referring this person not because he's just my friend or he's someone I know. It's because I know the quality of work that he can give here, and which is why I want you to probably consider this person. In such cases, in employee referral schemes, yes, usually the job description is not so formal. It's more about directly getting them interviewed, and we hope that during referral programs the referrer has already given a download of what is expected out of this person, and they have already done that discussion and dialogue. So it is easier to probably bypass the job description formally and directly interview in terms of the fitment, the technical side, and the other things that we look at lateral people as well, but maybe directly without going through too much of the job description kind of a process. So yes, that exists. That exists in every company. In fact, referral scheme is one of the hottest way of hiring because we also know that any employee who refers a candidate will not want a situation where the person he has hired is not doing well or is a bad hire, because that will have bad credibility on that employee, right? That employee doesn't want to go through a situation where, hey, what kind of person have you given? This person is, is a loss maker. Maybe, yes, there will be outliers. There can always be situations, but they will not do it on purpose. So employee referral is definitely there. And in fact, employee referrals come with monetary rewards as well, depending upon which level you hire. So if I hire, the junior level, I'll have an X amount. If I hire someone at a leader level, it'll be 10 times the money. So there are employees that I've seen who are eager to just keep sharing, referrals, because there is a monetary reward linked to it. And that is why a lot of companies will always also have a capping that in a year you can only refer maximum 5 people, because sometimes some people crack code and they know what is required and they utilize their alumni connects or any connects just to get them referred. So it exists. Okay, thanks, Gautam. All right, very relevant questions. And any other questions when it comes to recruitment, or anything that you are looking forward to when you are applying, whatever is the first thing that comes in your mind, I'm more than willing to answer that. Shrestha, have you raised your hand again?
Hello. Yes, I did raise my hand again. Thank you.
Okay, please.
Thank you for answering this question. So, I just wanted to know your insights that if a person is working in an organization, a multinational organization, and a case a police report has been filed against that person against domestic violence or something related to that, like domestic violence or a non-criminal activity. But yeah, so what will be the organization's steps or actions regarding that? Like, will they ask the person to leave the organization? Can the person continue working with some terms and conditions, or what will be the what are the common policies, or are there any common policies, existing common policies regarding such matter?
So when you say this, you're talking about the accuser being a part of the company or is a part
Yes,
of the
the
family?
accuser is already a part of the company. He's been
Okay, understood.
working since a period of time, and a complaint has been registered against like domestic violence or
Understood.
something,
Understood.
non-criminal,
Yes,
civil.
yeah, definitely. And it's not just criminal or civil kind of,
Mhm.
activities. It's for any kind of assault. It can be
Okay.
minor assault to a major assault. Assault is an assault which major companies will have 0% tolerance for, right? Because we do not want
Right.
employees to go through a stressful environment where they're not able to work, where they're not able to do what they're meant for, and they're not happy. I think that is a non-negotiable thing with any organization, and there will always be 0% tolerance. So there are committees, right? There are posh committees, there are legal committees which take on these complaints, right? And depending upon how fast their decision making works, a case goes through internally where an internal investigation goes, because we cannot just go by the complaint, because the complaint is also by a person, right? And until the investigation comes to conclusion, it has to be neutral in the beginning, right? There will be very independent committee members who are not related to you at all or that other person, and there will be independent committees who will do this investigation, try to understand the root cause, where it all started, look at proofs that each party is showcasing, and it goes through an entire process. It goes through entire one-on-one grilling session as well. I've been a part of certain sessions where some employees under my vertical had filed a complaint against the managers in one of the companies that in the past, and we went through the whole cycle of understanding what is their story, what is this story. And yeah, I think if it's proven and if there's sufficient proof that this person is guilty, it is asked to leave immediately, right? If it's proven, it is asked to leave. There is no two ways about it. The person also might in severe cases lose their notice period, buyout also. Depending upon the severity of the crime, they can even be handed over to the police authorities if it's that big of a crime. But depending upon the complaint, yes, internally the committees do take action, and they take it to a closure where there is satisfactory closure to the victim. Okay, thanks, Shrestha.
I think that should be all. So, thank you, sir, for taking out time to educate us about this big piece of the recruitment puzzle. We
Thanks.
value your experiential insight as well as your intent to make recruitments seamless in your place of work. We realize the importance of human resources in an organization, and thank you for this interaction. We hope to learn more from you in the coming future. Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone else, for joining us in this talk.
Thanks, Anya. Thanks everyone for the discussion. Take care and best of luck.
Thank you, sir.